Welcome to Piano Inspires podcast, celebrating pianists, teachers, and innovators as they share their inspiring stories about the transformative power of music.
Hello, my name is Leah Claiborne, and I serve as Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion at the Francis Clark Center. Today, we have the amazing Michelle Cann joining us for the podcast. Grammy Award-winning pianist Michelle Cann is one of the most sought-after artists of her generation. Highlights of her 2024-25 season include appearances with the San Francisco Symphony, the Cincinnati Symphony, the London Philharmonia Orchestra, as well as various collaborative performances. Cann is recognized as a leading interpreter of the piano music of Florence Price and a champion of emerging talent. Embracing a dual role as performer and pedagogue, Cann is frequently invited to teach masterclasses, give lecture demonstrations, and lead teaching residencies. She has also served on juries of national and international competitions and is the headline artist of the 2025 MTNA National Conference. Cann holds bachelor's and master's degree in piano performance from Cleveland Institute of Music and an artist diploma from the Curtis Institute of Music. She joined the Curtis piano faculty in 2020 as the inaugural Eleanor Sokoloff Chair in Piano Studies and is also on the piano faculty at Manhattan School of Music. Michelle, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm really, really excited to learn more and for you to share your story.
Well, it's great to be here with you.
Thank you.
And, I have so much admiration for your work as well. So
thank you, Michelle.
This will be fun.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Michelle, can we start from the very beginning?
What do you mean by very beginning?
Okay.
How far back?
How far back? It all started on Sunday. Yeah. From your childhood. Can you talk a little bit about what was it like growing up in your household and maybe the importance of music, or how did you decide I'm going to start music or piano, or just tell us a little bit like a scope of what was it like in your household early on?
Well, from when I was in the womb, music was being played
so we
and
are going
performed.
Way back.
We're going way back. We're starting right there.
All right.
Yes, literally. You said the beginning.
Yeah, listen, I'm here for it.
And so, so I had, I grew up in a very musical family. It starts with my mother and my father. So my father received his degree in music education and has been a teacher within K through 12 education for his whole career.
Oh, wow.
And specifically, he really started a lot of programs. What was very significant was that he is Bermudian. He's from Bermuda. Mm-hmm. And in Bermuda at the time, he had heard, it was really just happen chance. He had heard a Trinidadian man playing some steel drums in Bermuda. Okay. And he was fascinated with these instruments and also like what they could bring in teaching. Mm-hmm. And so he was the first to bring steel drum bands to Bermuda.
Oh my goodness.
And started one in the school, and they were very, very popular there. But then it was something that he brought everywhere that he went. So there was a very unique thing where each school that he taught at, this was the first time that steel drums had ever been introduced into that environment. So that was unique for him. But he taught band and choir and, just really everything.
Yeah.
My mother, who was actually focusing in biology, and really actually was a chemistry teacher for a lot of her time, really loved music as well, had a beautiful voice, and also played piano a little bit. So there was just a love of music there. And so it was a requirement, essentially, that all my sisters and I, 4 girls in my family, that we all started on piano, actually,
interesting.
First. But, of course, learned multiple instruments. So that we were also part of the ensembles that my dad taught.
It's very smart one.
So when I started, I actually started at 6 years old is when I formally started piano. And my eldest sister of us, Kimberly, she was already quite advanced at the piano. And so, I had this really great motivation and I just wanted to be, want to be like your big sibling, and to catch up, you know. And so I think that helped a lot too, because she was already like playing with orchestras and such, you know.
Wow. Okay.
So I knew what I kind of wanted from day one.
Sure.
So between that and having parents that, you know, were disciplined and made sure we practiced and everything like that, it turned out that both Kimberly and I really wanted to pursue music beyond, you know, professionally.
Okay.
And as I said, it was unique. I still think about how much this has affected me, especially in my collaborative playing.
Sure.
Having grown up learning and performing in other instruments as well.
Right.
Piano was always primary, I think, for Kimberly and I, but, you know, I had played violin and I played in youth orchestra, and that was probably the second most proficient instrument I had.
Okay.
Trombone.
Okay.
Tuba.
What?
Listen, I did. That's,
I want to, we need to bring those clips back.
There we
Bring them forward.
We're not bringing those clips forward. We are not. No pictures.
I want to see it.
No, this was little me in high school.
That's
and
hilarious.
Couldn't even hold the tuba. Like, I was like behind it. No, it was hilarious. But no, in all seriousness, like I sang in the choir and played, accompanied the choir. So, you know, I was getting all of these skills and all of this knowledge as I grew up, and not quite realizing exactly how much it was going to benefit me in the kind of career that I wanted to have in the future.
No, that makes sense. That's amazing. Would you consider your dad your first piano teacher then?
No, actually my mom.
Your mom.
So that was the one instrument my dad did not really play, was piano.
Got it. Okay. So
he had learned a lot of instruments and such, but not piano as well.
Okay.
But my mom had basic enough knowledge.
Okay.
So in a way, I think that she kind of started us.
Can
but
you
quickly
talk about your first teacher or the teachers that you had still specifically in like childhood, like formative years?
Absolutely. I think, you know, my very first teacher, I loved her. Her name was Debbie Candy. I loved her last name. She always gave us candy.
Love it.
And so she was my first teacher that I remember. And I was with her for a little bit. And she was a great, you know, just kind of getting me started on the basics and things like that. But I think where I had the most significant push was when I was about 9.
Okay.
I switched to a professor by the name of Rita Fandrich, who is based in Lakeland, Florida. So at Florida Southern College, she was a professor there. And this was very fortunate because my sister, so I'm 9, so she's almost 16.
Okay.
And so we're getting to the point for her where my mom is like really needing a serious teacher. They're looking into college. What will that look like?
Yep.
So they had found Rita Fandrich for Kimberly.
Okay.
And my sister Kimberly ended up going to Florida Southern College with Rita Fandrich for her bachelor degree.
Right.
So I, being 9, I remember this because, you know, Miss Fandrich was, well, I don't teach younger you know, students.
Okay.
I don't do that. So she kind of initially said no.
Right.
But then my mom really pushed and she heard me play some things and she decided that she would take me on.
That's amazing.
You know, but there'd be certain expectations.
Sure.
But I'm so grateful that she did.
Yeah.
Because I needed that at that age.
Absolutely.
I needed somebody that would push me to the level that she did. And she did. She had me playing Mozart concertos and more serious repertoire that I wasn't really being pushed into quite yet.
Absolutely.
And just believed in what I could do.
Right.
And that was a huge push for me.
That's so special. I know we've talked, like, I'm so glad we've gotten to like know each other like personally and as a really amazing friend. But there's something so unique too about when you are put in a space. Like my sister as well, she went to a college for music, and then my parents had me take lessons with that teacher in the school.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
So like even like as a young kid saying like, oh, I'm taking lessons in a college, being in the space, right? Like sometimes we don't know what we can envision until we're in doing that. So
that's such a good point too, right? Because I always took my lessons there at the college, right?
You're doing what you wanted to do in the space that you wanted to do it in. That's
wow,
amazing.
That's good point.
So you started lessons with this teacher in Florida. She's pushing you, doing concerti after concerti, repertoire, huge repertoire. Was there a point where it seems like from early on that you were like, this is what I want to do? Is there no? How did you say, okay, I'm going to major in piano performance at a conservatory? Like what was that journey then for you?
Well, you know, it's, again, I always like to just, you know, whatever interview I do, I'm going to be real with you, with
Please.
Everyone, because I feel like it's the way to serve the generations to come. It's just like, let's be honest, right?
Absolutely.
So the truth is, no, I was not, even with all that I was doing. See, here's the interesting thing. It was like, I definitely enjoyed performing. That was always the case. I did enjoy performing. I enjoyed learning new pieces. I was like the kind of student that, you know, my teacher would assign whatever and I'd be reading everything else. And I, you know, that's just what it was. I would get bored and I'd be like, what about this? What about that? And my mom would be like, that's not the piece you were assigned.
Right.
So, you know, I was really hungry to learn and to grow.
Yeah.
That being said, I was also a typical teenage girl, you know, going through that phase. I was homeschooled during high school, for most of high school, and a little middle school. But I had been in school up to then. And then I was sort of rebelling against that because, you know, I wanted more freedom, you know. It was just the things that, you know, the growing pains.
Yeah.
And what was consistent was my parents observed, you know, but when she is sitting at the piano, it's clear that she enjoys it and there's so much there.
Right.
So they kept pushing. But I'll be honest, like into the age of 14, 15, I think even, my parents still had to remind me sometimes to go practice. You know, I talk to some musicians, it's like, oh, I just flocked to the instrument. I'm like, I did not always.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like it on certain days.
Yeah.
And, you know, I remember this talk that my parents had with me. I think I was 14 or 15. And they were so just frustrated and kind of tired. And I remember my father saying, like, listen, at this point, this needs to be something that you show us that you want. Because we are tired of basically almost fighting with you at times to make sure you're getting enough practice in, or you did enough each day. You know, and do you want this or not? You know what I mean? And I just remember that moment because we grew up in such a Caribbean household. I'll just be honest. Like, and I say that with whatever those that know what that means.
Yes.
Which is that from day one, there was never any question that you were going to see something through. You know what I mean?
Yes.
There was never, when I came home from school, we're not having conversations. When I came home from school, if the report card said A-, my mom was not like, oh, great.
Congratulations.
She was like, what
happened?
What is, even A, if there was an A+, she would ask, why didn't you get an A+? Like, if that's part of the scale, why is this just an A? Like, in other words, it was always like, what could you have done? More. And to be fair, if it was like a really difficult course or things like that, okay, fine. But you better have a reason. It better not be because you slacked, right? So this was the expectation in our household. So at that age, I was like, wait, what?
What's happening here?
Why are they saying that, you know, this is on me? Because it never, you know, they would make me do this anyway. And I think that was part of that rebellion. It was just like, my parents are going to make me do whatever, you know, they think I need to be doing.
You're right.
So I don't need to take responsibility. I'll just do what I have to do.
Yeah.
But that was important for them to do because I think that shifted kind of making me have to think, is this what I want out of life?
Sure. Yeah.
Right.
It's a broader question.
It's a broader question at that point. You know, not to be fair, I don't think they would have let me quit. I'm going to be honest with you. You know, but
like, we love that for you.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
get back on
that piano. Exactly. Like, but I am glad that I had to think about it.
Yeah.
So that was a shift for me. Yeah.
That's great for your parents. Okay, so then after that moment, that conversation, then you're like, okay, I did something. What was the shift? Was it?
I think,
what was the personal?
It was internal? More of an internal motivation. Yeah. Okay. It was just a different sort of mindset about, I don't know, just like even how I practiced. And I feel like I was a little bit, I mean, again, I always pushed, but, you know, being distracted, going through other things, like I kind of wanted to, learn pieces a little faster and learn them better and take on more challenges. You know, I think it just became more like, well, what can I accomplish in these last years of high school to push myself more?
I love that.
You know?
And thanks for sharing that because, like, you know, so many of our listeners are teachers, students, right? Parents.
Yes.
Right? So it's not the case that there's going to be that from 5 years old.
Yes.
Up until the years of college that the student is just going to get to the piano by themselves, practicing forever, right? We need a community pushing people who can identify the talent, right? Absolutely. And then encourage that to continue.
Encourage it. And you're right. And it comes from, you said it. It is community.
Yeah.
Because it came from having the right teachers.
Right.
From having the parents kind of, because the thing that I've seen from teaching. Now I'm teaching at, the college level, but for years I've taught, from literally just the youngest beginner. And one of the things that is always consistent for the ones that make it through is that the parents are, I always give advice like this. I say, recognize, right? Get to know your child, look at how they start these lessons. Recognize if your child really thrives when it's time to make music, whatever that is.
Okay.
Like, do you see, the light bulbs all turning on? Do you see the neurons, working? Like, you can just tell that this energizes them. Right. And this is something ultimately they enjoy, especially when they, have learned that piece and just recognize that connection. Because if you see that, then you have to make a commitment, at least I believe. You have to make a commitment to see them through the times that they don't believe in themselves. See them through the times where they're going through that teenage whatever stage or whatever it may be, where they don't want to have to work for anything. They just want it to happen. We all go through that. So, you have to look and as soon as you see that, know it's worth that push. Because so many parents, what it is they just, as soon as the child starts to resist, because it throws them off. Sometimes the child's super excited at first. So as soon as they see that resistance, they say, well, she's bored or he's bored with it now.
I don't want to keep it.
I don't want to. And I don't want to, I have to keep telling, I hear this, right? You're the teacher. You know what I'm talking about. I have to tell them every day to practice. I'm like, well, my parents had to tell me every day to practice.
Exactly. Same.
They had to remind me to do my homework. I didn't go running, but getting my homework done wasn't non-negotiable. So you have to decide in your household what is considered something that is worth the push. And then see them through those harder times. They will thank you later. What's the number one thing you hear from people is, as adults, that's it.
I wish I would have kept up with piano.
Every time. I mean, every time. When have you ever heard, and I haven't heard it. When have you ever heard the opposite? Like,
I'm so glad I did it.
Like, I can't believe they made me learn this instrument. I hate that I know how to play this piano.
I hate it, That's crazy.
Like, I wake up angry.
I wake up from the wasted time. How dare they?
I mean, I'm waiting for that.
It hasn't happened. You're right. It hasn't happened.
I try to tell parents that, trust me.
Never have I ever heard that. Woo. Okay. So that hasn't happened. Okay. So you have this internal commitment drive. It lands you in Cleveland Institute of Music. Can you talk about more so like the few steps before your career? I'm assuming that's part of Cleveland and Curtis, but what's going on during that time specifically?
Well, so much. I mean, I think I carried certain aspects from, my childhood, which was kind of being involved in multiple things. That was also very interesting, again, that I think connects to my career now, was having grown up with piano being primary, but that was the thing. I was very social, and especially in a musical way, piano could be solitary, right? Just with that practice outside of like chamber music and collaborative playing. And so for me, I was in band, orchestra, choir,
Yeah.
And I remember at the end of high school, I taught some students, so I had so many different things that connected me with others musically that even when I went to Cleveland, and again, my major was in piano performance, I immediately was involving myself in other things. So, I kept taking violin lessons.
Interesting.
For a little bit until it got just too hard to keep it up. Because I didn't want to give that up. I decided I had the genius idea to do a biology minor because as if I wasn't busy enough. I was like, why not?
Yeah, why not? Yeah.
Well, and again, I think that stemmed from, I just always had many interests. I've always, I loved biology, and I could see myself in medicine as well. I mean, as much as I had made the decision to put my primary focus in piano, there was still also that doubt or that fear or that, well, what if I'm not successful?
Okay. So you even had Michelle Cann, 2-time Grammy award winning. At some point, that little voice in the back, like, what if?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
What if I don't make it?
Absolutely. And I think part of it it's a mix of, again, the way I was raised, which was that I needed to be successful. Mm-hmm. You know, that was just whatever success looks like, right? And so the thought that, see, it's so much different, right? When you think about like a career, you know, focusing more in medicine. Mm-hmm. At that point, and this was like an equation I could understand.
Okay.
It was like study hard, pass the classes, and you'll become this doctor or this nurse or whatever. Mm-hmm. Not to say it's an easy road.
Sure.
It's just that, you know, you kind of have to just get X, map. Y, and Z done. Yeah. There's a map, right? You know, if you're willing to work, and I knew what that meant to work. So for me, that was a safer bet.
Sure.
Okay, the arts, there's, come on, you know, in all ways, I say, you know, even outside of music, right? It's like, again, it's what makes it special is that it's like, you know, a journey in its own way, but it is not, there's no equation for that. It's not prescribed. You know, you do not know exactly what your life will look like.
Right.
You know that you have a passion for this.
Right.
And you know that if you know, you're pushing and you believe in yourself, that something will work out. I really, truly believe that. But it might not be what you envisioned initially.
Sure.
And it might not happen on the timeline you wanted exactly.
I love that.
Right?
I love that. Isn't that the case?
It is. It's
always.
like, it's a
really
leap of faith. It's a leap of faith in certain ways.
Yeah.
And so you have to be driven by a passion, right? So for me, that was scary when I was used to, you know, like data-driven things.
Right.
So anyway, that I think is part of it. So I go through my bachelor degree and I decide, like, I was at this point, like, I think it was right when I was finishing my master's actually at Cleveland Institute. And it was a crossroad, you know, and I thought I could push more in the direction of, you know, a medical career. Because of course just a minor isn't really, you know, so I could push more in this direction, or I could really put everything into piano. And the reason I was feeling that was because I was overwhelmed with the talent around me.
Oh, okay.
I mean, there was so much talent at Cleveland Institute, you know, at that time in the piano department and as a whole in my own studio. It just seemed like no matter what I was doing, somebody could do it better.
Sure.
Right? Or somebody could learn that piece faster. Or, you know, whatever it is, it's just, I was really stuck focusing on what others were doing around me. And then I thought, well, how is there a place for me? And it was that internal battle. You know, and you know, it's interesting because during these times, it doesn't really matter. Like I always tell students this, it does not matter what other people tell you. Like, in other words, my teacher did not give me a reason to believe that I couldn't make it. You know, my parents didn't, you know, even my friends didn't necessarily. They were like, I mean, you're great. Doesn't matter.
It's the internal voice.
It's the internal. If you don't work that out,
right?
Listen, if you don't work that out, if you don't figure out how to work that out, you will struggle your whole life with it. You have to just accept. So I remember being really at a crossroads. Like I really felt like maybe this is not the place for me to push anymore. And so I decided to make a deal with myself. It's, you know, really interesting, where I said, okay, here's the deal. I've been doing so much academically. I did like masters in 1 year. They had like a 5-year program to get bachelor's and master's done. I just pushed so much for all of it. And I said, partly I need some time that's just about piano. Right?
Okay.
So I applied for professional study artist diploma degrees.
Okay.
Because those are all about performance.
Right.
You know, they
No
take
class.
away a lot of those classes. So I said, I'm going to if I finally take away some of these distractions and have more time for just the piano, let's see how I feel after that. Right. That was kind of how it's. So, you know, I applied. I also didn't have any money. So then it was, there you go. There's that too. So I was like, well, I don't want to take out any more loans. So I applied to schools that would be able to give me, you know, a full scholarship. And I pushed as hard as anybody could. I mean, I made sure that my audition repertoire was just everything I wanted it to be.
Amazing.
And it paid off. You know, when I found out I got into Curtis, I was shocked because I had auditioned for Curtis in high school. I didn't get in. Got to the finals, got close, didn't get in. So, you know, I thought, well, let me try again. And so when that happened, and Bob McDonald, who's a teacher I really wanted for that next step, you know, I was able to study with him. I was like, okay, thank you, Lord. I got what I asked for in terms of I got the opportunity that I asked for to push, focusing just on piano. And I did. And so for the first semester, nothing. I just I didn't try to do anything else, just piano. Severely depressed by the end of that semester. severely depressed. Like, it was like.
It wasn't you.
It was not me.
At least with your upbringing.
Yep.
What you were used to, what brought you joy.
Yes,
exactly was talking, communicating, using music to socialize, essentially.
100%. 100%. I immediately was depressed. It was so interesting. I used up all the free therapy they give you as a student.
Sure.
I was trying to figure this out.
I get it. Yeah.
I was like, wait, this is what I wanted. Yes.
I talked to you guys. Right?
This is what I wanted.
This is the plan I mapped out.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. And I was so depressed. I was like, what is the point of this then? Because and I was practicing hard.
Yeah, I know it.
So very interesting. I get this call from Stanford Thompson in December of 2010.
Okay.
That's when I had started the Artist Diploma at Curtis.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that I had just started to do around that time was I was looking for a church job. And I needed some extra income, and I'd always worked in churches.
Yeah.
So I think I just found that job. I can't remember exactly the timeline, but for whatever it's worth, Stanford was looking for his then brand new program, Play on Philly.
Yeah.
He had just started this in Philadelphia, and they needed a choir director.
Interesting.
A choir director, so for the kids.
Okay.
So I basically get this call from him, and he says, "Well, you were recommended." And I said, "Well, that's interesting, because I've never directed a children's choir before, so I'm not exactly sure who recommended me." But I guess what it was is that there was somebody that knew I'd worked in churches in Cleveland.
Okay.
When I was a student there, I had worked with the choirs there, and I grew up, working with choir, but not actually directing a choir. That's something my father did.
Okay.
But he said, "Well, you're just what we're looking for. I feel like would be great." And I remember he told me, I think it was $50 an hour at the time. I said, "Oh, well, I think I can do that."
I love choir.
I do. I was like,
I love directing.
I do. I have so many ideas.
Or so many.
So many things. Too many things.
So many things.
Hilarious. Because I was like, that was the other side of it. There's just practicality.
Yeah.
My whole, I'm going to come to Curtis and do nothing but practice. Mm-hmm. Oh, wait, I need to pay my rent.
Right.
No,
Right.
And again, things like this, you're just like, okay, reality is I actually do need to, Mm-hmm. So I just remember being like, yep, that can work for me. That would be very helpful right now.
Yeah.
I'm just being honest.
Absolutely.
That was part of it, because I was really scared about that. I was like, so I called my dad up over Christmas break. Mm-hmm. I'm back home in Florida, and I'm like, "Dad, I'm raiding his children's choir collection."
Sure,
so I'm pulling out pieces. Mm-hmm. My dad's giving me just different tips. Yeah. And again, I watched him. It was so interesting, because all the years that I would watch my dad direct the children's choir, that I would accompany, that I was getting knowledge. I was absorbing so much knowledge.
You're in it,
And I'd work with adult choirs. And again, just because I hadn't stood in front and been the only director, I'd also taught kids all these years. Piano.
Yeah.
So all those skills ended up coming together.
Right.
And in the end, immediately, I'm telling you, once I got into that second semester and I started at Play on Philly, and I would go there during their after school times, a couple times a week, depression went away.
Amazing.
The purpose immediately made sense.
Right.
Just to step into that space.
Sure.
With these kids, it was a small group at the beginning, but to step in there and be able to be part of shaping them and creating relationships with the kids in West Philadelphia.
Right.
And, building this choir at the time was huge for my sense of self-worth and purpose.
Life-saving. Literally.
Completely.
Yeah. That's incredible.
But then it made sense, because music is about connecting.
Right.
It's about the connections you make. It's how it moves people. It's what sitting in a room practicing for hours, you can completely lose sight of why you're even doing this.
Yeah.
So by having that balance, I wasn't, completely overwhelmed with other things.
Right.
But I had this balance now of this purpose, something I look forward to outside of myself.
Right.
So that those hours spent by myself, working, weren't just, feeling like I was in a vacuum.
Sure. So do you feel that was like your aha moment, in that you position yourself so well with both solo, but also deeply chamber as well? You just won a Grammy. Congratulations. Beyond the Years. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because that's a collaborative,
Yes, very
effort.
much so. It was just really, I did this album with the soprano Karen Slack. And what a powerful artist she is, just and both in her personality, but also just in her artistry and skills as a vocalist. And we were just unified in really being in awe of Florence Price, and from different points of view. Now, I had been very involved in Florence Price piano solo works, some piano strings chamber, things like that. I had not delved into the vocal piano repertoire as much.
Right.
And this opportunity came where One Composer, which was the organization that partnered with us with all of this, had been doing their own research and essentially had done all this work to put together these manuscripts of songs for voice and piano that had been lost for decades and decades in boxes of her old summer home attic. There was a lot of music, including the piano concerto that I performed with, that I recorded with the New York Youth Symphony, which also won a Grammy.
Yes.
That album, which was really cool. But that particular concerto had been also in boxes, for years and years. So there was, a whole amazing story there. But these songs had, as of really a year or two ago, had still not really been, put out there to the public to play. So they did a lot of that work and made it readable and so then we just jumped on it to be able to record these and share. And I just, again, learning them alongside her, it just showed me even more of the versatility of Florence Price and her writing style and such. It just really, but I couldn't have asked for a better partner to record with.
Sure.
So, when it won the Grammy this year, we were just beyond thrilled, personally, of course, but also just on behalf of her.
Sure.
This was the first in the solo vocal category. Right. It was the first Grammy won for a Black female composer.
Yeah.
And
huge.
It just really meant a lot.
Performed by two, I don't want to make assumptions just so when everyone's listening, performed by two Black female artists.
Correct. That is also not.
Vocal. Yes.
You're right.
Yeah,
absolutely. It's all that. Exactly.
It's all that,
which is really, no, it's impactful. It was for us to just be part of that.
Right.
And so you're absolutely right when you talk about I have a lot of interest in, collaborative playing and teaching. Yeah. Like a lot of what that is, what's part of my life right now, it's a priority to me that it's not just, solo piano. It's like I kept that need really to connect with students, with other, fellow musicians.
That's beautiful. Do you have any other projects that you can talk about that you're on the horizon? It's keeping you, I can't imagine you being more busy than you are. You just flew in today and did this. But what's up next? What's up next for you?
Well, a couple of big things. Okay. Which one is that I will be having my first child in June.
Amazing.
Which is very exciting.
Yes.
By the time you all hear this.
Yes.
This will have already been, he will already have been born, but at any rate, yes, a baby boy. Very exciting.
I cannot think of a better mother.
Well, thank you. You don't really know me, so I wouldn't.
I feel like we've gotten to know each other quite well the past 2 years.
No, I won't, but I do strive for that because I could think of some better one. No, but no. In all seriousness,
it's gonna be an amazing journey.
Well, again, I feel like one way or the other it'll be life changing, right? And what's been really tricky, but also I'd say empowering because again, it kind of shows you what you're made of, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Is navigating a traveling performance career, and the busy schedule I have with teaching and performing while going through stages of pregnancy, and it just really gave me so much. Just I'll put it this way: I have so much respect, and I'm in awe of women in general that do this all the time.
Right.
That's the thing. I think that I've had times where I feel very overwhelmed about it all, and I feel almost guilty, like oh my gosh, I'm doing so much. Is this okay? And then I look at so many that have come before me in this field and so many fields that absolutely do this and have done it and continue to do it successfully, So that's empowering, I have to say. But it's not, it's a little bit of what I said earlier about having a career in the arts is that you don't you don't know the future completely. It's not as this like complete prescribed, equation, So you figure it out as you go, and you have faith and trust that you will be able to handle what comes in front of you.
Right.
So that's, added a lot to what the future will look like.
Yeah.
Which will still include me being me, but with this child in tow.
Yeah.
So so that's one very big thing for this year. And then another very exciting thing is that in the fall of 2025, at some point before the end of the year, I'm releasing an album of music by Hazel Scott.
I love it.
Is a phenomenal Black female pianist, both with classical jazz. She was an actor. She was a civil rights activist. She was an amazing mother herself and singer and so many other things. I mean, she born in Trinidad, but, grew up in New York City, Harlem from the age of 3, and was this absolute child prodigy, trained by Art Tatum.
Yes.
Mentor and good friend of hers was Billie Holiday. Like she honestly, truly, I think, I just feel like she should be talked about more. There's actually a documentary that came out on PBS recently, which is worth watching. But at any rate, she to me is such an example of someone who stood for what they believed in while just believing in the power of music and and artistry and what that could do for others.
Yeah.
Through the platform of her talent.
Right.
And also just her being true to herself.
Right.
She really made, she paved the way for so many.
Right.
For her, she actually had in her contracts when she would do concerts that it had to be an integrated audience.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't, she would leave.
Yeah.
We're talking about the 40s.
Right.
The 50s. This was not an easy time. I mean, she stood up to the House of Un-American Activities commission that, essentially was blacklisting all these different artists and saying that they were like communists, this, that, and the other. And she went and spoke and said, you are the un-Americans.
Yes.
You're trying to ruin, people's careers and this, that, and the other. And, in the end, she got blacklisted for that, I mean, but she believed that it needed to be said. Absolutely. And she wasn't afraid to do it.
Right.
But at any rate, with all that inspires me about just her ethics, she, again, phenomenal talent, got into, if Juilliard accepted 8-year-olds, she would have gotten in. Yeah. But a professor took her on when he heard her play and taught her from the classical perspective. And then, of course, her ears were amazing. So she was playing jazz all the time. And her career, took off in jazz. But she bridged those fields through one of her first albums called Swingin' the Classics.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm releasing in the fall.
Okay.
Which is really in an homage to this album that she did in the 40s, early 40s. And I am taking what these classical pieces, the way she would do it, she start them true to form, and then break off into this ridiculous improv.
Yes.
And it just phenomenal to hear. And so what I've done is essentially I'm just bringing this back to life from my perspective, from a classical pianist perspective that loves jazz.
Right.
But also specifically because she was an amazing stride pianist. Like the difficulty of the kind of and the speed that she could do stride.
Right.
There are so many pianists today in jazz or classical that cannot do that.
Not at her level.
It is unbelievable. I had to work so hard to try to bring these transcriptions to life. I mean, I really did. I was just amazed at her talent. Right. And so that's another side of it is she never wrote it out, as a jazz pianist, she did it. So this is exciting because the plan is to have this music kind of, again, bringing it back in a way, bringing it back to life, bringing it to people's attention. But at the same time, trying to get it published. Like,
beautiful.
I had somebody do the work of listening.
Yeah.
Wesley Ducote, who's an amazing composer. And he took the music and put it on the page from just listening to the crazy fast, all the improv she did. And so now others can learn it as well and celebrate her. So I'm so excited. It's so fun. I have a couple of tracks where it's just me.
Mm-hmm.
And then Justin Faulkner, who's a phenomenal drum player. He's also on the faculty at Temple University. He's on a couple of tracks.
Nice.
It's really going to be hot. We're very excited.
I love it. I'm excited for it. Michelle, it's going to be an incredible year. Another incredible year.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing with us today. And I love, and I've always loved your transparency that you not only in your performance, like through relationship as well. And I know that everyone listening here will definitely be just so grateful for what you've shared.
Thank you. Well, it's so great. Again, so great talking with you.
Thank you. Thank you all so much.
The Francis Clark Center is a not-for-profit educational organization that serves the advancement of piano teaching, learning, and performing. Divisions include Piano Magazine, Piano Inspires Kids, Journal for Piano Research, National Conference on Keyboard Pedagogy, the New School for Music Study, Piano Education Press, International Online Teacher Education, and Piano Inspires Online Community Hub. Please visit us at pianoinspires.com to learn more about our impactful work and inspiring community.